The jungle trembled, though there was no wind. The excavation crew stood frozen before the impossible structure, a vault, buried beneath Earth's crust, sealed before humanity had even learned to walk upright. Its surface pulsed with something wrong, something that whispered to the mind in words that predated sound itself. Commander Elias Rourke cracked his knuckles. "Well," he growled, lighting a cigar with the same casual defiance that had made him a legend. "Whatever's in there didn't kill itself. Let's crack it open and see who wants to die next." The doors groaned. The sky turned black. And reality itself began to scream. The jungle was silent. Too silent. The usual cacophony of insects and distant wildlife had vanished the moment they breached the vault's outer perimeter. It was as if the world itself was holding its breath. Commander Elias Rourke stood at the forefront of his squad, a cigar clenched between his teeth as he surveyed the gaping maw of the impossible structure before them. The monolithic doors, towering 50 feet high, were covered in etchings older than human civilization, glowing faintly as if whispering secrets in a language no human had ever spoken. Dr. Keller, the leading scientist on the dig, shivered. "This isn't just old," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. "This predates us." Rourke exhaled a plume of smoke and scoffed. "Predates, huh? That's cute. What, you think aliens dropped this here for us like a surprise birthday present?" Keller shook his head, eyes locked on the inscriptions. "No. I think whatever built this wanted it buried." Sergeant Owens, Rourke's second in command, snorted. "Well, they didn't do a good enough job." The vault pulsed. Just once. A ripple of unseen energy made the air hum with static, and for a fraction of a second, reality itself seemed to distort. The trees bending at unnatural angles, the ground shifting like water. Then it was gone. Rourke cracked his neck. "Right. Enough ghost stories. Blow the damn door." Keller flinched. "Wait, what?" "Commander, we have no idea what's inside. This thing wasn't meant to be opened." Rourke gave him a grin, full of sharp teeth and zero hesitation. "That's exactly why we're opening it." Owens barked the command. The demolition team moved forward, planting precision charges along the vault's surface, the whispering glow intensifying as if protesting the intrusion. Rourke's squad, hardened veterans of countless wars, stood poised, weapons trained on the unknown. The countdown began. 5, 4, 3, 2. The jungle howled. The explosion ripped through the air, sending a shockwave of force outward, toppling trees and kicking up a cloud of dust. The ancient metal screamed as it shattered, and then, silence. Rourke stepped forward, unholstering his sidearm. The vault's interior loomed before him, a vast darkness that swallowed light like a dying star. His comm crackled. Static. Then, something else. A voice. Not human. "Why have you come?" The words weren't spoken. They weren't heard. They were felt. A low vibration deep in the bones, rattling inside the skull. Owens cursed, jerking back. "Commander, what the hell was that?" Keller's face went pale. "We need to leave. Now." Rourke ignored them, stepping past the threshold. The moment he crossed into the vault, a wave of nausea hit, as if he had just stepped out of reality itself. His vision blurred. The walls pulsed like they were breathing. Then he saw them. Bodies. Thousands of them. Frozen in time. Aliens, not from any species humanity had ever encountered, were locked in combat, weapons mid-discharge, expressions twisted in absolute terror. Their skin had fused to their armor, their eyes burned into empty sockets. Rourke frowned. "Well, that's a new one." Keller let out a strangled gasp. This isn't right. These bodies, they're preserved in a way that shouldn't be possible. It's like time just stopped." Owens clicked his rifle's safety off. "Whatever did this might still be here." The comms crackled again. That voice. "You should not be here. Leave." Rourke clenched his jaw. "Who the hell are you?" The voice laughed, a sound that sent a shudder through the air, like the space around them had just cracked slightly. We are the first. We are the last. We are the ones who remember. Then the vault shifted. The bodies, those thousands of alien corpses, moved. No. Not moved. Glitched. 1 second, they were frozen in place. The next, they weren't. They weren't walking, weren't breathing, weren't even alive, but something was rearranging them, rewinding and fast-forwarding their existence in flickers of corrupted reality. And then, the first human vanished. One of Rourke's men, simply gone. No scream. No trace. Just erased. Like he had never existed. Owens swore, spinning around. Where the fuck is Davis? More calm interference. The same low vibration in the bones. He was never here. Rourke's heart pounded. Not in fear. In rage. Because he recognized a threat when he saw one. All right, he growled, rolling his shoulders. Enough cosmic horror bullshit. Show yourselves, or I start pissing off the wrong gods. You misunderstand, Anomaly. You are not the ones in control. And suddenly, the vault wasn't a vault anymore. The walls stretched infinitely, the ceiling dissolving into an abyss of stars and broken timelines. The petrified battlefield flickered between ages, lifetimes, possibilities. And then he saw it. The thing that had been waiting. It wasn't a creature. It wasn't a god. It wasn't anything that should exist. It was the absence of a thing. A shape without form, a presence that existed between thoughts, like a shadow cast by an unseen sun. Rourke clenched his jaw. Let me guess. You're the asshole in charge? The voice, the witness, rippled through space itself. We are the ones who remember. We are the ones who erased you. Rourke's grip tightened on his weapon. Did a shit job of it. The witness pulsed. A distortion in reality itself. You were never meant to exist. Humanity is an error. A flaw in the design. We came before, and we wiped you from time itself. And yet you returned. The jungle outside flickered. One moment, it was lush and alive, the next desolate, a wasteland of dead trees and crumbling earth. A glimpse into a world where humanity had never been. Rourke spat. Cute trick. But I don't buy it. It is not a trick. It is a correction. You will be undone. The ground split open. The vault collapsed inward, becoming an abyss of non-existence. More of his men vanished, not dead, not taken. Erased. Their names forgotten before he could even say them. The witness loomed. You are not supposed to be. Rourke stared into the abyss. Then he grinned. Buddy, he said, cracking his knuckles. Humanity's been breaking rules since we crawled out of the dirt. You really think we're stopping now? And then, against the end of existence itself, Commander Elias Rourke charged. The first bullet vanished before it reached its target. Rourke barely had time to register the impossibility before Owens opened fire, a full auto burst from his rifle ripping through the abyssal space where the witness loomed. The rounds didn't just miss. They ceased to exist mid-flight, their trajectories erased from reality before they could even reach the target. Rourke threw himself sideways as the air bent around him, a ripple of sheer nothingness slicing through space, swallowing 2 more of his men before they could react. One moment they were there, then, not even a memory remained. Fall back! He roared, even as the words felt hollow, like they were being unraveled the moment they left his mouth. Owens grabbed his shoulder, face pale but fighting like hell to keep it together. Sir, we can't fight this! Rourke bared his teeth. Then we make the bastards work for it. He flipped a grenade into the void, the explosive blinking out of time before it could detonate. No sound. No explosion. No existence. The witness shifted, its form distorting like a reflection on shattered glass. Your resistance is meaningless. The voice didn't speak, it was. Inside their skulls. Inside their bones. And yet Rourke grinned. Yeah? Well, tell that to the last few assholes who thought they could wipe us out. We're still here. Where the fuck are they? A pulse of pure anti-existence slammed into them. The air folded, the jungle outside twisting between thriving wilderness and barren wasteland, time glitching like a broken transmission. Owens dropped to a knee, blood dripping from his nose. Sir, we're losing. We're not even fighting, we're just vanishing. Rourke steadied him, hand on his shoulder, eyes locked on the thing in front of them. Not yet, we're not. Then he saw it, a flicker in the abyss, a momentary pause in the constant erasure of everything around them. A weakness. He lunged for his radio uplink, ignoring the static warping his vision. Command, this is Rourke. We need orbital bombardment, full payload, right on top of my coordinates. Now. The comms shrieked with something not human. A distorted version of his own voice laughed back at him. You cannot kill a concept, Commander. Rourke grinned, wiping blood from his mouth. Watch me. The ground fractured beneath them, the vault's ancient walls folding like wet paper, revealing an infinity of wrongness beneath. The witness expanded, its form splitting into countless cascading echoes of itself, its presence tearing at the seams of reality like fingers in a wound. Humanity is an accident. You should never have been. Owens choked, his hands on his head. They're trying to erase us before we even existed. They're rewriting history. Rourke lit another cigar. Good luck with that. The void shuddered as he stepped forward, defiant, unmoving, his sheer refusal to be erased a defiance in itself. The witness hesitated. Not much. But just enough. You think you're the first bastards to try? Rourke growled. You think you're the first gods who thought we weren't good enough for your precious, perfect universe? He spat. We clawed our way out of the fucking dirt. We were never supposed to make it past fire, let alone the goddamn stars. We survived plagues, war, extinction events. We killed monsters, burned empires, turned death itself into a footnote in our history books. A ripple of pure, impossible energy lashed toward him, and stopped inches from his chest. Because something was changing. The jungle flickered back into place, for half a second. The vault shook. The walls glitched, like a system under strain. The witness spoke, but this time, it sounded unsure. You were erased. We corrected you before. You should not be. Rourke blew out a stream of smoke. Guess what? We don't stay dead. And then, above them, the sky cracked. The first orbital round slammed into the vault's exterior, the impact rattling through the distortion field like a thunderclap against a glass pane. The next tore through dimensions, the sheer force of human firepower crashing through the impossible. The gods had made a mistake. They thought they were erasing a species. They didn't realize they had just pissed off humanity. Rourke felt the universe buckle. The witness writhed, its form collapsing, trying to rewrite the outcome even as it unraveled around them. This cannot be. You are wrong. This is wrong. Rourke holstered his gun. Nah. The final payload dropped. A weapon designed to turn planets into memory, a payload that didn't just destroy matter, but rewrote the battlefield itself, obliterating the very concept of the witness in a burst of human defiance, made into fire. For a moment, the world went silent. Then, the vault was gone. The jungle was still. And Rourke? He was still standing. Owens collapsed, gasping for breath. Keller, somehow still alive, stared at the crater where the vault had been, where time itself had tried to erase them and failed. What the hell did we just do? Keller whispered. Rourke exhaled. Survived. He tapped his radio. Command, target neutralized. Area secure. Static. Then a voice, an actual, human voice. Commander? We lost your signal for a second. What's your status? Rourke smirked. Status? Standing in the middle of a cosmic kill zone, smoking a cigar, and enjoying the fact that we just pissed off the concept of existence itself. Status is just fine. Keller rubbed his face. This was bigger than any of us. We weren't supposed to win that fight. Rourke looked at the sky, where the impossible had just lost. That's the thing about humanity, he muttered. We don't give a shit about supposed to. He started walking away from the smoking ruins, leaving the battlefield behind, but not forgotten. Because the universe had just learned something. Humanity was never meant to exist. And yet they did. And now? They weren't going anywhere. The wind was wrong. It shouldn't have been there at all. The jungle was still, yet a phantom breeze whispered through the trees, carrying voices that had never spoken, whispering names that had never existed. The crater where the vault once stood was nothing but scorched earth, but something in the air hadn't left. Rourke stood at the edge, hands on his hips, gaze hard. He could still feel it, the weight of something that wasn't there anymore but refused to be forgotten. Owens limped up beside him. You feel that? Rourke didn't look at him. Yeah. Keller wiped the sweat from his brow, still looking like he might throw up. We erased it. We should be dead, wiped out, erased. And yet, we're still here. Rourke finished. Owens tightened his grip on his rifle. So what does that mean? Rourke flicked his cigar to the dirt. It means we did something worse than killing them. The silence stretched, the jungle around them eerily out of sync, like reality was still deciding if this version of events was allowed to exist. Keller's voice was barely above a whisper. We broke something, didn't we? Rourke exhaled. Maybe. Or maybe something was already broken, and we just walked in at the wrong time. He kicked at the dirt, thinking. Either way, doesn't change a damn thing. We're alive. The threat is gone. Owens wasn't convinced. But how? We shouldn't be. If they erased us before, what stopped them from doing it again? Rourke turned to face him, expression unreadable. Because this time, they were scared. Keller flinched. Scared? They had all the power. They had time itself in their hands. They were gods. Rourke cracked his knuckles. And yet they hesitated. Owens frowned. Why? Rourke didn't answer right away. His eyes scanned the ruined earth, as if he expected the nothingness to start whispering again. Then he said it. They weren't afraid of what we are. He turned back to them. They were afraid of what we're becoming. A gust of wind swept through, strong enough to make the trees bend. The jungle had been silent before, but now it felt loud, alive with movement, like it was shifting around them. Keller looked uneasy. I don't like this. Owens adjusted his rifle. You and me both. The radio crackled in Rourke's ear. Command was calling in. Commander Rourke, status report. He tapped his earpiece. Alive. Vault's gone. No hostiles remain. A pause. Then. Repeat that, Commander. No hostiles? Are you certain? Rourke's gaze flicked to the crater. He could still feel the weight of something watching, something not quite gone. He exhaled sharply. They're gone. Another pause. Copy that. Extraction inbound. You are to report directly to High Command upon arrival. Debrief is classified, no comms, no external reports. Understood? Crystal clear. Acknowledged. ETA, 15 minutes. Stay put, Commander. The radio cut out. Owens scoffed. Stay put. Right. Like we got anywhere else to be. Keller was staring at the jungle. I don't think it's over. Rourke didn't answer immediately. He was watching the way the air moved around them, the way the trees didn't sway right, the way the earth beneath them felt too solid and too fragile at the same time. No, he admitted finally. It's not. Owens tensed. Then why the hell did you tell Command it was? Rourke cracked his neck. Because if we tell them the truth, they'll nuke this whole place into oblivion and pretend none of it ever happened. He gestured at the crater. And whatever's left of them? They'll remember. Keller swallowed. So what do we do? Rourke smiled. But it wasn't a happy smile. We wait, he said simply. We see what happens next. The jungle whispered. And something, somewhere, whispered back. The extraction ship hovered above the crater, its engines humming against the unnatural stillness. Dust swirled beneath its descent, but even that felt off, like it was moving slower than it should. The jungle hadn't made a sound in the last 5 minutes. Rourke stood at the edge, arms crossed, watching the crater like it might move. His gut told him they weren't alone, even if there was nothing left to fight. Owens nudged his shoulder. You sure about this? Because I'm getting the feeling we just walked away from something that doesn't know how to die. Rourke didn't look at him. Yeah, well, maybe we did. The boarding ramp hissed open, and the pilot's voice crackled over comms. Commander, you're clear to board. High Command wants you back immediately. Keller lingered behind, eyes locked on the ruins. I don't think we should leave. Rourke turned, brow raised. You want to stay here with the ghosts? Keller shook his head, voice tight. No. I mean, I don't think we can leave. Owens scoffed. You're getting paranoid. Keller's hand twitched toward his rifle. Am I? Look around. No birds. No insects. The wind's been circling the same direction for the last 15 minutes. He gestured toward the crater. That thing ain't reality, and we're standing on the leftovers. How do we know it didn't change something? Rourke inhaled sharply. We're not debating this. We board now. Keller hesitated, then followed them up the ramp. The hatch sealed behind them, and the ship lifted off, banking toward high orbit. The silence in the cabin was thick. Owens dropped into a seat, rubbing his face. Damn weirdest mission I've ever been on. Rourke leaned against the bulkhead. Try top 5. Keller's fingers tapped against his leg. Doesn't it bother you? Owens groaned. What now? The way it ended. Keller glanced between them. It shouldn't have. Not like that. Rourke watched him, quiet. Keller exhaled. We should be dead. We should be gone. And yet we're here. Like nothing happened. Owens rolled his eyes. Because we won. We blew the thing to hell and walked away. That's what we do. Keller shook his head. No. We stopped something that was erasing us from history itself. We broke the rules of reality just by surviving. He leaned forward. What if we aren't supposed to be here anymore? The ship rattled. A deep, low hum vibrated through the hull, not from the engines, but from outside. Owens stiffened. What the hell was that? Rourke's jaw clenched. He pushed past them toward the cockpit. Pilot report. Static. No. Not static. Something else. A voice. Familiar. Wrong. You should not be. Keller bolted upright. No. No, no, no. The lights flickered. The stars outside twisted, bending like reflections on rippling water. Owens grabbed his weapon. Tell me I'm imagining this. Rourke reached for his earpiece, only to hear his own voice laughing back at him. You did not win. The ship lurched violently. The gravity plating failed for 2 seconds, leaving them weightless before slamming them back down. The pilot's voice finally came through, panicked. Command, do you copy? We have an anomaly on board. Reality distortion. The ship tilted, alarms blaring. Rourke's mind raced. This wasn't over. The witness wasn't dead, it was still here. With them. Owens was gripping his seat, cursing. Tell me what to shoot right now. Keller's breathing hitched. I think it's rewriting us. Rourke pushed toward the cockpit, forcing his way to the viewport. Outside, the stars weren't stars anymore. They were fractures, peeling apart like paper, revealing something behind them. A glimpse of a universe that wasn't theirs. And then, the ship wasn't there. Not destroyed. Not broken. Just gone. And yet, somehow, Rourke was still standing. He was somewhere else. The air was cold, but not like anything he'd ever felt. The sky above him was endless and shifting, as if space itself had been turned inside out. Footsteps behind him. Owens. Keller. Their weapons vanished, their gear missing. Keller was shaking. We didn't leave, did we? Rourke clenched his fists. No. Owens cursed. Where the hell are we? A whisper. Everywhere. You exist outside the script. An anomaly. An error. A figure stepped forward, not quite a shape, not quite a shadow. A fractured silhouette, its outlines shifting between thousands of versions of itself. The witness. Rourke took a step forward, standing his ground. You lost. The thing laughed, not a sound, but a distortion, like the very fabric of space was amused. Lost? You do not understand. There was never a battle. There was never a war. There was only the inevitable. The ground warped beneath them, shifting between jungle, battlefield, city ruins, deep space, a collision of possibilities, all unfolding at once. You changed something. Rourke's muscles tensed. Damn right we did. You were meant to be erased. Instead, you remained. You should not exist, and yet you resist. Tell me, why? Rourke grinned. Because you can't kill us. The witness tilted, as if considering that answer. Then it spoke, slower now. Perhaps. Perhaps you were meant to persist. Perhaps you were meant to replace. Keller swallowed. What does that mean? Owens was already bracing for a fight. I don't like where this is going. The witness flickered, multiplying across their vision. You have proven yourselves. You are not erased. But now, the question remains, what do you become? The universe shifted. A doorway opened, not a door of metal, but of potential. Rourke stared into it. He understood now. They hadn't just survived. They had evolved. This wasn't about winning. It was about what came next. And for the first time, the witness wasn't dictating that answer. Rourke smirked. Guess we'll just have to find out. And then, they stepped through. Into the unknown. Into something new. The transition wasn't instant. It wasn't like stepping through a door or being teleported. It was something worse, something unnatural. Time didn't move forward. It folded, twisted, rewound itself in ways the mind wasn't meant to comprehend. There was no gravity, no air, no body, only thought, stripped of flesh, memory dissolving into fragmented static before being reassembled wrong. Rourke clenched his jaw, refusing to lose himself. He had survived worse. He had crawled through hell before, and if this was another war, then he'd win this one too. A voice sliced through the void. Welcome to the unwritten. He blinked, and suddenly, he was standing again. Owens and Keller were beside him, their expressions shifting between recognition and confusion, like their minds were still catching up to the fact that they existed. The space around them wasn't empty. It was incomplete, as if the universe had been half-formed and then abandoned. Pieces of planets hung in the void, cities half-built and frozen in time, roads leading to nowhere. Keller shuddered. Where are we? Owens cursed under his breath. I don't think we should be asking that. I think we should be asking if we're even real anymore. Rourke exhaled, adjusting to the weight of his own existence. His instincts screamed danger, but there was nothing to fight. Only possibility, shifting, waiting. The witness stood before them, its form no longer chaotic, no longer shifting between shapes. It had stabilized, taking a form more human, but only just. You were meant to be erased. Yet here you are. Unmade, but not undone. Rourke's fingers twitched toward his weapon, but there was nothing to grab. No gun. No gear. Not even the concept of a weapon existed here. Keller swallowed. You said something before? About us, replacing something. The witness regarded him, its expression unreadable. You broke the script. You exist where you should not. The old order, those who came before, feared this. Feared you. But fear is not a command. It is merely delay. Owens squared his shoulders. So what, you're telling us we won? That we're supposed to just take over? Not yet. But soon. Rourke had heard enough. No more riddles. What do you want? The witness's form dimmed, pulsing like a dying star. To understand. To see what becomes of a species that should not have been. To see what you choose to be. Keller's voice was almost a whisper. And if we choose wrong? Then the universe corrects itself. A deep silence followed. Owens flexed his hands, tension lining his face. I don't like that answer. Rourke tilted his head, watching the witness closely. It wasn't giving orders. It wasn't threatening them. It was waiting. For the first time, Rourke understood. You don't know what comes next, do you? The witness didn't answer. He grinned. You think you're gods. You think you control everything. But this, he gestured to the empty, unfinished space around them. This is proof that you don't. This was never a test for us. This was a test for you. The witness's form flickered, just for a second. Perhaps. Owens laughed dryly. You mean to tell me the all-powerful universe makers don't actually have a plan? Plans require certainty. You are an anomaly. There is no certainty with you. Keller exhaled, his fear shifting into something else, understanding. We broke fate. Fate was merely the illusion of order. Rourke's smirk widened. And now we get to decide what replaces it. The space around them shuddered, the unwritten universe responding to the weight of his words. The witness did not move, but something in it changed, a flicker of something it had never expressed before. Yes. Owens glanced at the shifting void. And what if we choose to go back? The witness tilted its head. Back to what? The illusion of a life that no longer fits you? The script you outgrew? Rourke's chest rose with slow, measured breath. No. Not back. Forward. He stepped toward the edge of the floating landscape. If this is the space where things are rewritten, then we write our own story. The void trembled. Something listened. The witness watched, no longer speaking. No longer leading. Because it was no longer in control. Keller straightened. Owens cracked his knuckles. Rourke turned to his team. Time to see what happens next. And with that, they stepped into the unknown.